Hello crafty friends, my name is Alicia, but you can call me Crafty Owl. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I put together my first set of cards using the February 2025 SheetLoad of Cards printable. I hope you'll stick around to see how they were made and get some tips along the way. Yesterday I stopped by to share with you the brand new SheetLoad of Cards February 2025. In that video I also told you how you could download the printable. If you haven't yet seen that video and you want to craft along, check out the description box below for the link to the debut. Today I'm going to be going through the process of making the 6 cards and giving you some tips along the way. Also today, my creative team will be joining me in sharing their cards. So make sure once you're done with my video to hop along to see what everyone else created. To do this, it's super easy. There is a playlist linked in the description box below, and as an end card at the end of this video, it will be your one-stop shop for all of the videos. Now, if you want to go through channel by channel, I also have a link list down in the description box. I know that everybody would love for you to stop by, see what they created, and leave them some love. It is also inspiring to see what each person did with the same sketch. This month, for my channel members, I do have a couple SVG files that are going to help you put together this month's card, and later on in the video, I'll tell you how you can download these. As I get into the process, I'll tell you about the products and tools I'm using, but as always, if I ever leave you with any questions, feel free to leave those in that comment section below, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Let's get crafty! Before I get to the process, I did want to stop by with a special channel member shout out. I would like to say thank you and welcome to my newest paper trimmer level members, Debbie Ryder and Elisa Rodriguez. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you as well to all of my channel members. You help to keep me creating here on YouTube and the latest SheetLoad of Cards free for all subscribers. If you're ever interested in finding out more about the perks of channel membership, check out the join button below this video or the link in the description box below. I'm going to get started today by cutting my 2 pieces of pattern paper per the instructions. Now this one does have quite a bit of leftover scraps, and I'll show you later how I use some of those on the inside of my cards. The papers I'm using today come from Echo Park's Chilling with My Snowmen collection, and it's actually the same piece of paper, just the front and back. I'm going to start by cutting off that branding strip so I can fit it in my trimmer, and then I'm going to cut 2 columns, one at 5 1/4 and another one at 4 inches wide. For now, I'm going to put that leftover strip over to the side. Now I'm going to take each of those columns I just cut, and the first one that was 5 1/4 inches wide, I'm going to cut that into 3 equal sections of 4 inches tall. The second column will get cut into 3 pieces that are 2 3/4 inches tall. And again, there's some left over at the bottom of this that I just set over to the side for now. From each of the pattern papers, I will have 6 pieces as shown here. And once I had that first one cut, I brought in my second sheet, which is just again the back side of the same piece, and cut this in the same way. Once that second piece was cut down, I brought in a single sheet of cardstock for CS1. In my case, it is Sweet Basil from Tailored Expressions, and I'm going to cut that down into 6 pieces that are 4 1/4 inches wide by 3 inches tall. So I start by cutting that in half to 4 1/4 by 11, and then rotating each of those pieces and cutting them down to their finished heights. Now you don't need to remember any of these dimensions I'm giving today. Don't forget to check out the debut video linked in that description box below so you can get your own printable with all of the dimensions. Next up, I want to get my CS2 ovals and my vellum pieces ready. As I noted on page 1 of the printable, I do have some SVG files for members this month. If you are a channel member, make sure to check out the community tab here in just a couple hours and look for the graphic you see up on screen now. That is going to have a link to an SVG and a PNG file to help you cut your own. Off camera, before I got started, I did go ahead and get out a half sheet of white cardstock and a half sheet of vellum and use the cut files for my pieces. Now, if you're not yet a channel member or you don't have an electronic cutter, I am going to show you how you can make your own. Because I still have my trimmer out, I'm going to start with the vellum pieces. Again, I'm using a half sheet, but if you have smaller scraps, you can use that as well. From the vellum, you need 6 pieces that are 3 3/4 inches wide by 1 inch tall. So I started by cutting 3 1-inch tall strips, and these are 8.5 inches wide right now. Once I had those strips, I cut them into the specified width, and I only cut 2 of these strips since I really didn't need them because I did use my digital cutter. On the sketch and the cutting guides, it does tell you to cut parallel angles into the shorter ends of these pieces. An easy way to do this is take your scissors and cut one angle and then put 2 of those strips together, and using the first one as a template, make the cut on the same side. Then, to get that same angle but on the opposite end, flip these around once again using that original cut angle as a template. And you'll see here that that will leave you with 2 pieces, which you could go ahead and then just use 1 for each of those additional strips. Another option is to just take your scissors and do freehand angles on both ends, not worrying if they're perfect. Also, you could totally not make angles in these ends. You could do fishtail. You could just leave them squared off. Let me know what you're going to do down in that comment section below. For CS1, which is your focal point, the sketch suggests an oval that is 2.5 by 2 inches. Now, you can just find something in your stash that is close, like here I brought out an old spellbinder set. You could also use a circle, you could use a square, you could completely leave it off. Make this fit your focal point. For example, when I chose an oval of mine that was close, I brought in both of my stamp sets to see if the image and sentiment I wanted to use would work on that size. And while I'm giving suggestions on how to make this sheet load work for your stash, please note that if you don't have vellum, you could use cardstock, you could use leftover pattern paper for this piece. Don't give up on the sketch just because you don't have that one supply. All of the cutting is done, so now I'm going to start with some assembly. The first thing I did was bring in my pattern paper piece Bs, and I put those on their coordinating mat. I just added adhesive to the back and then try to get a nice even border all the way around. Here's a look at both of the patterns with their mats, and I continued to adhere these pieces together until they were all done. Once those were all put together, I brought in my pattern paper piece A, or those larger pieces, and now I'm going to mix and match the patterns so the centers are different than the background. I'm going to add those centers, and I'm still just using a tape runner or my ATG to keep everything nice and flat so far. Once I have the adhesive on the smaller piece, I do my best to center it on its background. Since I chose the same pattern paper for both of my pieces, meaning the fronts and backs are the same, I will have 2 different looks for my card set today. Now, if you did choose 2 completely different pieces and your fronts and backs all matched, you could definitely mix and match these so you have a wider variety of looks. While I finish putting these pieces together, I wanted to take a minute to recognize a few special channel members. In the month of January, I had some of them earn their 1-year membership badge. So scrolling up on screen are their names. Thank you so very much for your continued support. I hope that you're enjoying those perks of channel membership. Once I had all of my pattern papers adhered together, I brought in 6 card bases that I already had pre-made from my stash. I chose today to use white just to keep it nice and easy. I wouldn't have to put anything else on the inside for the personal message. Each of those card fronts just once again got centered, trying to get a nice even border all the way around. I adhered the rest off camera, and here's a look at the 6 finished card bases. Now all I need is some focal points. For my image, I am using the snowman in the lower left-hand corner from this Sunny Studio Snowman Kisses stamp set, and I did go ahead and pre-stamp those. I used Tailored Expressions Oreo ink on Express It blending cardstock. To color these in, I'm using Olo markers, and I just went with 1 shade per color, and I will list those individual colors in the description box below. Now, if you know me, you know that if I ever color, I like it to be nice and easy, and these images really fit that bill. Because I did go ahead and just leave the snowman part completely white, all I had to color in was the hat, the little carrot nose, and the buttons and scarf. So here's a look at how I colored in the first one. The rest I did do off camera, and you'll see here that I changed each of them up just a little bit. To finish these off, I used the coordinating die to cut them out. The next part of my focal point will be the sentiment, so I brought in those ovals that I had cut out on my electronic cutter, and for now I'm going to place the snowman approximately where I will on the finished piece. Then I can get out the sentiment stamp, which this is from Pretty Pink Posh's Everyday Greeting Set, and I'm just using the word hi to make these for any occasion. I got that set up on the oval and tested one out, and it looked great. So now that I've set it up on my MISTI, it's super easy for me to just keep placing those ovals and getting each one of those stamped. Now my ink pad did seem a little bit dry, so I went ahead and inked up and stamped each piece twice. Once those were all stamped, I brought back in the card bases and the vellum strips, and the first thing I did was add just a little bit of adhesive to the back center of that vellum. I do know that later the oval will cover it up, so this way I get that adhered down where I want it, but then I don't have any adhesive showing. When that was in place, I added adhesive to the back of the oval, again keeping everything nice and flat so far, and then I placed that centered on the card base. I continued the same process until I had the ovals and vellum on each of the card fronts, and then it was time to get the snowmen added. Off camera, I added some foam tape to the back of each of the snowmen. This way my card would have a little bit of dimension, and once I pulled that release paper, I added it to the left side of my oval. So here's a look at one card completed. Now I did go back in later, and you'll see on those final shots, I did add some stamped off snowflakes around that oval as well, just to add a little bit more of the blue and the snow. As I mentioned earlier, this sketch does leave you with quite a bit of pattern paper, so in the close-ups here in just a minute, you'll see how I use some of that on the insides. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I put together these 6 cards using the brand new February 2025 SheetLoad of Cards. If you did, as always, a thumbs up is appreciated. Don't forget to visit the Creative Team videos by using the playlist either linked in the description box or as an end card here in a minute. Until my next video, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch all the way to the end of the video. I hope now you'll consider clicking on one of the videos or playlists I have linked above. And if you are interested in any of the products or tools I used in today's video, I do have some links in the description box below.